Hello and welcome to Requested Nodes, a series focused on the community questions about the visual scripting tool. Hello everybody and welcome back to Requested Nodes. Today we're going to take a look at another request. This time this came from YouTube and it came from Semsiu. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. And Semsiu is asking, he wants to know how I can trigger a message only once and it won't trigger again. Now, this is actually really simple. Really quickly here, I've already loaded up my test script. If you want, you can just go quickly and make another test script. And so it's actually really simple to get something to happen only once. So as you can see over on the left-hand side of my screen here, we have our Scenario Explorer, and you can see a section called Common Scripts that I've expanded. And right down here, we can see one right here that says once and once after delay. Now, I'm just going to really quickly click and drag this onto here. And you're going to see if I deselect it, it's actually a yellowish color. And this is pretty much basically actually how you just make something execute once, but I'm going to use this to explain the concept of making your own smaller scripts and the idea of compartmentalizing your scripts in general. So as you can see here, it's a really simple yellow block and it says script once. So in this case, unfortunately, I don't think there's a trigger message here, but if we were to have a trigger message, let me just really quickly switch over to my toolbox and do a pseudo event here. Area triggered entered. So again here, so literally all you got to do is you just connect your logic connection to here, and then you have it do whatever you want on the outside, and that'll make sure it happens only once. Now, obviously, as you see, the title of the video is called Trigger X amount of times. So if you double click either on this yellow here or in the list, it'll actually open up the script itself, the smaller subscript. And as you can see here, it's a really simple sort of design to it. It pretty much just says on the first pass, if it's false, which it should be on the first pass, it's going to set this one bit to true, and then it's going to continue on with the script. And then if it ever gets triggered again, it's always going to be true. And as you can see here, there's no logic coming off of the true logic connection. So it will pretty much just stop there. It'll stop and hang there. Now, what you can do is you can have it repeat after a certain amount of times, or you can have it repeat ever so many times. So let's say we wanted something to repeat only 5 times. So really quickly here, I'm going to actually go back into here. Or sorry, go into here, and I'm going to, if it lets me, I'm going to add a new common script. Now this is what you can do to add your own kind of smaller scripts. And this is what I do a lot of times with my scripts, is I'll make smaller scripts that focus on just a very specific thing. Like for an example, I have a script that its entire handle is to set up the UI so that the scores can be displayed correctly. So I'm just going to name this repeat X. Whoops. I accidentally, well, we're just going to call it repeat X. I meant to do that X times. So here we can see we have an input block. We don't have anything else here. So what I'm going to do really quickly is put in a exit block, which is right here, output. Put in an output block. I always do this just because occasionally I forget. So what we're going to do here is we're going to double click on add parameter, and it's going to pop up, and this name is going to, we're just going to name that repeat count. So that's going to be an integer input, and I'll show you how to hook this up after we make this. So also what we're going to do here is we're going to have a branch really quickly, and we're going to take our logic and run it to the input of the branch. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little bit of arithmetic here, and we're pretty much just going to say we're looking for something to be greater than, or sorry, we're looking for something to be equal to. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that int repeat count input that we just did, and we're going to put that into input A, and we're going to create a really quick constant here of an int. And let's say we want this... I'm sorry. So yeah, so that's up there, and we're going to create a quick constant. And actually, no, correction. We're not going to create a constant. We have to create a variable for this. My apologies. So we're going to create a variable really quick here, and we're just going to call this counter. And we're going to leave that as int, and it's always going to be initialized to 0. And so what we're going to do is we're going to compare this counter to the repeat count. So pretty much how many times do we want to repeat. And we're going to take that output, and we're going to put that in the comparative. And what we're going to do here is off of the false branch is we're going to take a setter and set that to counter, obviously. And we're going to say if this logic is false, so pretty much if the repeat count does not equal the counter, is we're going to do another little bit of arithmetic here. And we're going to take the counter and we're going to add the constant of 1 to it. So pretty much what's happening here is every time that this specific subscript activates, if it has only activated under the amount of times we've put in, it'll continue. However, in this case, if it has activated the amount of times that we have the amount of times that we have put in, it will stop. Now, however, I just realized something. If we do equals, there is a slight problem here, because if that counter suddenly goes higher by accident, you will have the problem of it'll actually bypass itself. So just as a double check, we're going to say if it's greater than or equal to. This is just a little bit of a safety in case anything happens. As you can see here, oh, I did that. My input and my outputs moved. But anyways, we're going to put that back there. So we're going to save that really quickly. So back in... It's not what I wanted, sorry. Back in here, we're going to... take a look at how to set this up quickly. So if you right click, you can see something here that says script. And when you do that, you get a drop down box. And pretty much all this box is in the drop down is just pretty much the same list over here in the left hand side where it says common strip. So we're just going to put repeat X and we're going to put OK. And as you can see here is a larger yellow box. And it says repeat X, and you see we have an int32 repeat count input. So really quickly what I can do, let's just use a constant. So I'm going to say I want this to repeat only 5 times. So what you do is you put your integer here as your input, and let's say you want it to only happen 5 times. So there. So what this will do now is once that trigger has been set through, or stepped into, and then stepped back out of, this will only repeat for 5 times, because once it hits 5, it'll be equal to, in the small script, it'll be equal to the amount that we had set, the counter will be. And as you can see here again, is we don't have anything coming off of the true logic connection node. So it'll stop there and it won't let anything past this point here execute. And that's just a really simple way. And again, I kind of went into a little bit more depth on this than just simply placing the script that says once. And again, making common scripts is a really nice way to kind of compartmentalize and make your script nicer. So like for example here, we have this player connected event that pretty much as you can see here, there's a lot of stuff going on here and it gets very messy. So the thing is what I can do, I can take all of this, pretty much all of this section right here, along with the various pieces up here that are needed, and I can place all of those into a common script, and I can name that something like player assignment. And pretty much it's a nice way to be able to compartmentalize your overhead mission scripts to make it look nicer. And it's a lot, in my opinion, it just makes it more organized. Now, one thing that you can do with these, and I'm going to do it here, is you can add an output parameter. So we're just going to name this counter out. And we're going to run a connection from here to here. And so if we go in here really quickly and just save that and come back out here, and we'll just use the player disconnected here, and we place in our repeat X script, you'll see now that we also have an out int. So what this allows you to do is, let's say you have some global values that you need to maintain or update. Like again, with here, with like our max team players, our red P count, our blue P count. So we would possibly keep these on the outside of the script if we were doing this, and then pass them inside into the script via the left side input connections. And then once we've done, you know, all of our calculations here on this large piece, is we can then pass them out to a setter out on the right-hand side, which would be something like, you'd pretty much take this and put that to there and connect that logic-wise. And then that way, after this script has finished, any of those values that have changed, it'll push it out to the main overhead mission script, and then we can use those values. I will advise you to be very cautious with doing anything like that. In previous iterations of the visual scripting tool, that would break your script. Sometimes to the point where you would not be able to open it. Which, it sounds bad, there is a way to dig into the actual file of the visual script and delete nodes. But again, be very careful about passing values out of a common script, because like I said before, there was a problem where it would pretty much lock up the visual scripting tool and you'd have to exit, and it would be a real pain in the butt to be able to get in there and delete that script so it wouldn't do that. If I remember correctly, I believe it was due to improper coding in the VST, where it was trying to reference the value, but it wasn't actually loading the script itself. So it kind of like was looking for a value that was there, but really wasn't there. I'm still not 100% sure on what was happening. I have not, unfortunately, tested to see if it's not true. Just be very cautious when doing that, and make sure you save plenty of backups. Thank you all for watching this. If you have your own questions, please either go to the Space Engineers Visual Scripting Tool tutorial thread, which I'll put a link in the description to, or you can ask in the comments below, and I'll do my best to try to answer them with different videos or point you to the correct video that shows you how to do what you're asking. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.